Good morning, music lovers, and welcome to the Vinyl Lunch. If you've just stumbled upon this, welcome. This is our weekday record party. We play actual records, we talk about music, and have guests come on to help us talk about it, and we inquire about some of their favorite records. And our artist today, I'm so happy to have her in the house because I think it's just good karma if I'm doing a show called The Vinyl Lunch and my guest is LP.
Hey,
welcome.
Do,
Welcome. Now, when you were little, were you called 45? Sorry. I had to,
amazing.
I'll always go for the low-hanging fruit.
EP.
EP, that's right.
Come here. Who's a little cutie? Who's a little EP? What are you doing?
Oh, LP is just blowing up all over the world. She's got fans in far-flung regions, and I understand some of those fans are actually coming to the U.S.
Dude, that is
to see these shows.
Name for my next LP, Far-Flung Regions.
Far-flung regions, please, with my compliments.
I just have like different body parts, like in different parts of the record, like
Yes.
scattered,
But, you're playing a sold-out show tonight at the Cannery here in Nashville, and you've been traveling around the U.S., but you're playing, here in the U.S., you're playing maybe medium-sized venues where you were, I think you said you just had come from a 9,000 capacity place over in Europe, was it?
Yeah, in the Ukraine. It's very interesting. My life is quite interesting right now as far as that goes. I'm constantly switching gears,
Yeah, it is kind of a different headspace. Like we were talking before the show, and I when I was working at record labels, worked with some artists that were vastly more popular in certain parts of the world than maybe here. In fact, we had talked about Stereophonics, whom I love, and fans would come over and see them in the small clubs. But probably the most
it's like a treat, like
Absolutely.
that. And that's what it seems. It's wild that a bunch of people are doing that with me now, like Italians, Russians.
Well, it's a good vacation, and Europeans, gosh, they get way more vacation time than we do. 6 weeks. It's
that's a cool way, I would imagine, and I haven't thought of it, but going to see someone that you love, for 2 or 3 shows in America, and being like these intimate shows for them anyway. And
I get jealous. I've got a good friend from Australia, and he'll come over here for several weeks, and he'll see some shows here, and then he'll go up to New York and maybe Chicago. It's like, wow. If only.
Yeah, it's like, I think that's one thing that struck me a lot, and my travels and stuff, that people, their life is geared toward living, not working, and what a concept.
Well, the whole concept, in Spain of the siesta, it's like you take some time to rest in the middle of the day.
That was actually an interesting thing with the release of different things, of songs and singles. My team had to really take into consideration all the different times off of different places. Like they're completely different due to temperature and everything, and it's just like stuff. I don't know, just different things that people are experiencing in different parts of the world. Like we don't really understand that. We're just work all the time.
Absolutely. Well, even me when I moved to New York, I'd always lived in the South, and the local schools or whatever didn't necessarily celebrate Jewish holidays, and I was driving into work one day, I go, where is everybody? It was Rosh Hashanah. It's like, okay, cool.
Hey, things mean things to other people in the world.
Absolutely.
We are we probably are the leader of ethnocentrism.
Yes. Well, believe me,
world.
I was so happy to get those holidays. I wish I had them now.
Yeah, right. I feel you.
Well, let me ask. I think if I'm correct in my research, David Lowery kind of found you.
Oh yeah, he was he found my little baby band, and then asked me to. I don't know. It was one of the early times that I was ever asked to write with someone bigger, and then I finished writing a song with them that became a hidden track, and then I kind of just found myself on tour with them for a while.
Excellent. Well, of course, David Lowery. Then I guess of Cracker. Before that, Camper Van Beethoven.
Yeah.
And now, I think a professor.
Yes, he's a mathematics professor.
And
he's not a bright guy.
Yeah, not a bright guy. Although, no, he's a brilliant guy, and actually just some very succinct essays he's written on artist rights and digital rights. I mean,
he's always been a bit of an activist. Even watching him on stage, he's a completely different animal than me. I don't go there. You know what I mean? But it was something to see, very very erudite, articulate man.
Yeah, no, and it's just this weird new world we're in, where you can have millions of streams, and then you get the check, and it's like, wow, that's what millions of streams gets me, you know?
Yeah.
And in this town, especially since we have so many artists and writers and everything here, it's a very top of mind issue. So
yeah, I mean, listen, for me as a writer, now I'm experiencing a whole different stream of income because, the artist thing has been really going well. And but when you are a writer only, you really have to protect yourself. And I've been in the room. I remember like the beginning of my real writing time. I was writing with people. I'm writing with people know him here, Desmond Child, people like that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I remember being in the room with Desmond Child and another Swedish writer whose name is escaping me right now, but they have, Desmond wrote like Living on a Prayer. He wrote Living La Vida Loca.
Oh, yeah.
And the other guy had written all these NSYNC songs, and I remember them going, Desmond in his very dramatic, way, he was like, he would be like, it's over. It's over. Yeah, it's done. And I was like, well, it's done for you. I mean, the days of a couple $1 million album track, if you wrote an album track on a very big record, let's say a Bon Jovi or a Madonna record, you can make millions of dollars, and that's not the case anymore. And it just, that's when after Napster, and all that stuff, it just became a thing. But it is, I've literally had my intellectual property just sold for a price. Like there's a loophole in where like if I write with a producer and they have the master, they can sell that master to a record company. Like I had a master sold and put on hold for like Jesus Christ, what's that girl? I'm with you. What was that? Her name, Jesus. Anyway, huge singer, and given like $20,000 for the demo, and I had written the chords and the words and the melody, and he had like kind of put it together. And he's brilliant. We did other things together, but that particular song was like something I just like pulled all together, and I didn't get any of that money. And I hate to be so particular on that, but like this is what you deal with in like the business. So you sit there and you go, wait, all that came out of my head, and now that person, the other person, is getting that. And it's just like a bunch of things, and you get, I've been in the room and done as much work as like another writer or less, and you split it with the whole room, which I feel is the best way. But like sometimes there'll be like an interesting like battle of like percentages, and and people are like vying for like, it's survival, it's money, it's if you write a song as a songwriter, that's why, to me, I don't really pay attention to the percentages as much. It's just kind of write and go for like, volume and being prolific and trying to enjoy it as much as I can and put as much soul in, because unfortunately these days have come where we have to kind of count on every bit.
No, absolutely. And it's not a new problem. I mean, back in the start of rock and roll, you'd see names like Alan Freed show up as a writer, or Morris Levy. It's like those guys didn't write those songs.
Well, I believe it or not, and it was remedied, but like the first pressing of this Rihanna hit that I had one of the writer's managers on. I was like, what?
Yeah, huh?
like things like, stuff like that does happen. It's, it's just one of those, it's that kind of business. And, no one would dream of walking into the Louvre and taking home a painting, and that's the thing.
Or adding their initials down in the corner,
Exactly. So
I'll put a TH right there on that Mona Lisa.
You sound like you're splitting hairs and being like, greedy, but it really is like, like in the effort to be like, have a good vibe, you can get very screwed. So it's
absolutely
hard.
Well, intellectual property rights will just continue to be. I mean, because it's not just musicians; it's photographers, it's publishers, it's magazines, it's everything. Now that we live in this digital world, it's really hard.
By the way, that was Avril Lavigne I was singing the other day.
Avril Lavigne.
Come on!
Don't
forget that.
Got to have our Canadian content in
right.
here. All right. LP is my guest today. We are just thrilled. Let's play some of your music just to get in
well,
here.
like I said, man, I went with classics just for the hell of it.
As far as your music, I meant actually you.
Oh, my actual music.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean,
we're here.
I know people are like, I don't know this person. Like, they're speaking with such authority. Get out of here.
It's like I feel like to be a good host, I should at least.
I mean, why not? It's what I've been doing. So
all right. This is a live take on "Lost on You" that I really like, and
cool,
here we
thanks.
go. Oh, from an album probably unnecessarily named "Stars." That was Cher with her cover of "Mr. Soul." And that's one I threw.
Crazy, man.
I threw that into the mix because
we were just talking about how cool she was.
Yeah, she was just like eternally cool. And has done practically every genre out there.
I mean, it's like I wonder. It's almost like she was like Coachella, pre-Coachella. Like she.
Oh,
was,
yeah.
like,
She
was
doing like all the genres of Coachella in one person.
Right. Even the look. The flowers and the bare midriff. I mean, come on now.
That straight
Cher
hair.
started it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those Bob Mackie
Cher
gowns.
Chercella.
Ooh, Chercella.
Yeah,
I think
you
coined something right there. LP is my guest, and she's helping me select some songs. We heard "Go Your Own Way" from Rumors before that, and we were talking about just what an amazing album that is, and just
the making of that album.
The making, yeah.
I just want one bump from that. I mean, I just want one like.
There was more than one bump that went into that album.
It was a bumpy road. Let's just say
it was a very bumpy road. But good God, you just listen to those songs and they're just so. I love a well constructed pop song. One that's just like. It seems like it's airtight. There's no,
I mean, I think Lindsey Buckingham brings that kind of thing to the table. He's a, just a genius at that kind of thing. And I think his particular talent seems to me just like to put it in crude terms. It's just like he's able to like go off on this. It's almost like a rambling kind of thing. It seems like the song, but it's so tidy and sums up so quickly that you're like. You just can't believe, it's like this jangly, beautiful kind of puzzle that just comes all together.
Yeah, puzzles. That's a great analogy. Or it's like the perfect math problem that just
it's wild.
Wow,
not many people not many people can do that.
That's why he was in Fleetwood Mac. Although Fleetwood Mac was like 4 or 5 bands. There were all those different.
Have you ever
versions.
listened? I'm asking you. I hadn't before. My ex-girlfriend actually exposed me to Fleetwood Mac pre Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham.
Oh yeah,
when they were like Peter Green.
Peter Green, man,
and just some really good songs. Like that record.
The Green Manalishi and Oh Well, and he was an amazing player. And then. There were some other folks in the band like Danny Kerwin, and then Bob Welch comes into the band, and there's this whole period with him, and then he goes off and does solo stuff.
You can kind of see that they knew what they were doing as far as picking people. Like that's why, they didn't just it wasn't like they didn't put a little note up in the cafeteria for guitar players, and Lindsey Buckingham showed up.
Guitar player wanted,
Hi, how are you doing? This is my gorgeous girlfriend is going to be a superstar. I mean, it was just very, it was planned, and they knew it. Obviously.
Well, Mick Fleetwood and John McVie had started with John Mayall and the Bluesbreakers. So, and the Bluesbreakers had a series of great. You've never heard of them? Yeah. Well, there was this guy Eric Clapton that they pulled for one album. Then
fool.
Then in the next album, they pulled Mick Taylor, who was probably all of 20 years old at that point. And it's just
Mick Taylor. It was so crazy. Like when I went to see the Stones, at the Staples Center, a few years ago, and they had him in the mix. This is what we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
And it was so deep, like the groove. Nothing against Ron Wood or anything. He's amazing, but I particularly remember the entire groove getting insane when that guy.
Well, let me tell you, my favorite. Talk about a band that has been different bands.
Nuts.
My favorite edition or version of the Stones is the Mick Taylor years.
Yeah.
I mean,
Keith
he brought something.
Yeah, and Keith was really. I think Ron Wood and Keith are on the same.
Well, they're the
team.
same. You got two Keiths basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think Keith really respected Mick Taylor, what the elevation that he brought, just in
God, yeah.
And it was really apparent, in this really cool way, because they were more they were kind of opposites of a different they came together to make one, and it was really was a deep groove. You couldn't mistake it. Like,
Absolutely.
At the show.
Well, we'll get to some Stones here in a little while, since that's, I think, one of our shared favorite bands there.
I mean, like I said, I went for all the classics because it's just like, you could be like the Specials, and I love.
I love the Specials.
I love the Specials, but
we just had Dave Wakeling in here.
There you go.
No,
I'm just saying. I'm just like I toyed with those, like kind of that era and area, but I then was just like, these are the records I keep coming back to, basically.
Absolutely. All right, well, one record that you have on your list is Blonde on Blonde. It's an album that was made right here in Nashville, Tennessee in 1966. It was Bob Dylan's first album made here. He would go on to make Nashville Skyline and John Wesley Harding, and then come back for bits and pieces of other albums. But it was a very important album for Nashville. It kind of broke it wide open for other people to come here and record.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't known that.
Yeah, and he made it with mostly with the studio musicians here. He brought Robbie Robertson and Al Cooper.
Oh yeah,
with him.
I'm reading that book right now, Robbie Robertson's autobiography.
Yeah,
and I think he was the one and only guest from the band that Bob took at the time, and it was all other cats. And I remember he was talking about how he stepped in and they were all insanely amazing, and then he got to do his little part, and they were all then they were on board with him.
Exactly. Yeah, it was kind of a musical communication. Because the guys here, they were used to making a whole album in 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's like boom, 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 next. And, Bob comes in and he's writing in the studio.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there going, are we getting paid for this?
I imagine. Wow.
But yeah, it clicked pretty quickly. And Bob was impressed enough to come back and make another couple albums too. So
yeah, this town is very conducive. I've come here for a lot of writing trips. I even writing for myself and writing for other people a lot. And there's a vibe here that makes you feel like you're just in the mix no matter what. You feel part of something down here for sure.
There's kind of this genteel competition. It's
yeah,
you better bring it. It's not in a rude way, but man, you just
all songwriters talk about the whole 10 to 5 thing. Because I don't write songs at 10 a.m.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm doing all kinds of crap at 10 a.m. that doesn't involve songwriting, and I just it's very interesting to come down and be on a schedule like that, which is it actually mixes it up for you.
Yeah, I wonder about that too. If we've got this appointment, okay, at 10:30 Tuesday morning, we're going to get together and write a song.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can I be creative on demand like that?
Well, that's what I think the best thing in the world that because for a couple of years between record deals, I truly thought from 2009 to 2011, I thought that was it for me. Professional songwriter, and I think that it changes your perspective, and no one's tiptoeing around you as a songwriter really. They're get in here. I've had writing a week of writing in Japan, let's say in Tokyo. You get in there, they give you your little bit of sleep, and then it's boom, 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 boom. You're expected to write and produce songs. And there's no coddling, the artist where it's just I'm not really in the mood today. I think I'll go see a movie. Okay, all right. Artist has to be in the mood, so. But it made me a more cry and command kind of person. You know?
Well, I understand the discipline of it, and I'm sure that it's like anything. It's if you flex that muscle enough, you'll be able to at least bring something. It might not happen in that session, but then again, it might.
Well, songwriting is not as soon as you get out of your mind, for me anyway, I'm speaking from my own thing, but as soon as I got out of my mind, any expectation on the song, I was fine. Especially early times, I think you're always this is the song. This is a song that's going to do it for me. This is a song that's going to get me to the next place, and when you put that pressure on a song, it's not healthy, So you just even if you write a smash or you think, you should be moving on to the next song.
And so often it's the one you never thought would do anything.
And it's the one. The best part is that it's the one I love the A&R guys scratching their heads yeah. Oh no, the first time I knew that song had something when I first heard it.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's yeah, you did.
That 2020.
You did. Yeah, I remember.
Retrovision. Well, speaking of the Stones, it was Keith Richards himself that didn't think Satisfaction was a hit. So
right? I know. Well, I don't know if I've ever I don't know if I've told this story in this town, but I have told the story. But
go ahead.
My song "Lost on You" that did very well for me. And was a #1 in a bunch of countries and took me around the world for the last year and a half. I played that for Warner Brothers, my last label that I was on, and they dropped me 3 weeks after. Yeah. So it's just that is the way, and it's not, it's no problem like against Warner Brothers. I'm still friends with people there.
Of course,
it's just the way of the world.
And everybody makes mistakes.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
You look at the whole, the whole Yankee Hotel Foxtrot saga with them dropping Wilco, and then Wilco gets signed by another of the Wheel labels, and so they pay for the record twice, and then it becomes the biggest record.
Well, my favorite is that Forever for Now, my last record, that they didn't push at all. After things like kind of blew up in Europe, they started they've now released a Forever for Now Deluxe.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was like, all right, way to go. So kind of
we love you.
We love you. Did I mention I love you?
All right, well let's bring it back to Bob here. This is an amazing song. It's a double album of amazing songs, but Visions of Johanna.
What a hack!
What a hack! That dude, come on,
that guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Mr. Zimmerman, step it up. Now this is amazing song you picked, and let's let it roll. Recorded here in Nashville. It's Bob Dylan on the Vinyl Lunch. Oh, I'm flashing back to my 14-year-old self, trying desperately to nail that riff and just not doing it. But this is the Vinyl Lunch. I'm Tim Hibbs. My guest is LP, and we are spinning some records.
What up?
We've gotten to the lunch part of the Vinyl Lunch, also the vinyl part too, because we're playing records. And before that, we played "Spread Your Wings" from News of the World. It is you can't have enough. You can't have too much Queen, I don't think.
No. I mean, just by the very nature of the name, you need to have it.
Exactly. And just,
I just wish I could have been around at that time and really seen the commitment that some people had to that band, having no idea what was behind the name. And
well,
seems ridiculous to me, but it's really
does,
interesting.
But then it also, the way that their worldwide popularity, I mean, they translated that music, just touched people.
That to me is like, but I think that the way the people are like, yeah, like if a band of that name came out today, it would be polarizing, and I think that was interesting that it, from what they say, it wasn't as much like people.
No,
were
I don't think awareness was at that point even.
Right.
I think people were ignorant of a lot of things, and it just went right over their heads.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, witness the Village People, which, I mean, you could not get a more cliche array of gay male stereotypes, and
the people didn't know that they were gay.
And people didn't know.
Wow.
I mean, YMCA was huge. It was a #1 hit. And, it's like, okay. And Macho Man, obviously, to me, very obviously tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, it's like, you're like Uncle Drew wearing a dress to, Thanksgiving.
Drew.
Oh, that guy. I mean, he could be, cross-dresser, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see. Before that, Velvet Underground, White Light, White Heat. We had talked, I don't know if we talked on the air about Lou. We were talking off the air about
we were
Lou.
talking, well, to get back to Queen, I was saying that I went down a rabbit hole of YouTube the other day, a Queen rabbit hole, and, that's interesting sounding. And there was a thing about their one and only time on Saturday Night Live, 1987 or something, and I forget what the song was, but they were like, Freddie was trying to get his voice back all day because he had blown it out the night before, getting in a fight with his then lover, Lou Reed, which I was like, wait, hold on.
Wait, back up? Yeah. Hold on. Rewind. Yeah,
I mean, what? First of all, just the two of them in general, then, what was the fight about?
Well, gosh, they were two pretty opinionated kind of guys, so I can imagine that sparks were flying at that point.
Yeah, man. Well, it was probably something about, like shaving cream or something. This is crap.
The Battle of the Shaving Cream. Yeah. And let's see, before that, Rolling Stones from my very scratchy dad's copy of Let It Bleed. We heard You Got the Silver.
Yeah, we got a Keith sung Rolling Stones song.
A Keith song.
Just to be contrary to...
No, I love it. Well, Mick contractually has to leave the stage for 2 songs during the show.
Oh, really?
And that's when Keith will do his 2 songs, whether
Happy.
it's Happy or You Got the Silver or whatever. So
did Keith write Happy about being happy that Mick was finally leaving the stage? For 2 songs?
Probably. I probably had that in mind.
Yay!
It's funny to talk about my old New York office hood there. In that building where Tower was, above it, there were a bunch of apartments. And Keith had an apartment up there.
Oh, nice.
And Island Records used to have their offices just above where Tower was. But by the time I had gotten to New York, it was V2's offices, and I was working for V2. But we would see Keith in the elevator every now and then.
Yeah.
And one day, elevator opens, and there's Keith with a full 2-wheel cart stacked bottom to top with liquor.
Nice.
And we just kind of...
He's a professional.
We kind of... You pause. It's like, having a party? He goes, yeah, mate.
Short and sweet. I actually saw him. I was in Turks and Caicos one time with my my partner, and we were at the beach, and it was like Parrot Cay is this place where I think 3 big celebrities have houses down there, and it's this resort, and it's like Keith and Donna Karan and Bruce Willis or something like that. So we're sitting in the little tiki bar, right near the beach, and terrible music. I believe it was something like Unbreak My Heart. No, that's not terrible, but it wasn't it was just
You weren't
I was
grooving to it.
probably singing along to it. But then all of a sudden it's like, "Arr!" And you just hear this incredible reggae come on, and we were the only ones in there. And then all of a sudden it was like Keith and Patty Hansen and another couple. And I was like, no. And they had in an iPod basically Keith's stuff, and then as soon as they on instruction, as soon as he would show up, they'd plug it in. And he sat there and drank frozen mudslides for a couple of hours, and it was beyond. I didn't know. I just sat there too.
Wow.
Watching him. It was incredible.
I really only interacted with Keith once. I went to... I got invited to this end of tour party for the Steel Wheels tour. It was in Dallas, and it was at a local club, and they all 5 showed up. Charlie was probably only there for 10 minutes, in and out. And Bill was sulking in the corner. He was just minutes away from quitting. Mick had to play the good son-in-law to all of his in-laws who lived in Mesquite, Texas, a suburb.
Was he married to them?
To Jerry Hall.
Oh, okay.
And it was so I don't want to be too rude, but those folks they were maybe trailer park type folks anyway. So
she's isn't she the heiress of some oil tycoon or something like that?
Now she is. Yeah. But she came from humble Texas roots. Anyway, so he's fetching them drinks all night, which is hilarious. But Mick and Keith are exactly the way you want him to be. It's like they were the lives of the party. Keith is standing on the bar because the party is mainly for their road crew. It's like with a thank you for the road crew. He's standing on the bar, pulling out bottles of top shelf liquor and just throwing it into this crowd of people. And they never did play. Was the only thing. We were just hoping, come on, get up on stage, because the guy that invited me actually was had a band from Houston and had come up and said, "Hey Tim, you ought to come to this thing." And Keith and Ronnie went over to the soundboard a couple of times. Like, okay, they're planning. They're going to do it, and they didn't do it.
Oh,
well.
Well,
it was fun.
One can dream.
One can dream, absolutely. And then not too long after that, Ronnie came through on a solo tour, and he had most of the Stones band with him, like Daryl Johnson and everybody. It was great. It played in a small club.
That guy seems like the coolest guy of all time.
Absolutely, and an artist, and just very, very well read. But I went back. I snagged a backstage pass. I was going to see him, and his tour manager grabbed me right before I walked in. He said, "Hey, you can take pictures. He'll sign anything. Just don't hug him."
Jesus Christ, you might have a career as a
as an impersonator.
Yeah.
But I said, "Don't hug him." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, mate. This guy hugged him the other night and broke 2 ribs." And it's like, wow, okay.
Dude, somebody did that to me. They dislocated one of my rib heads from my people pick me up sometimes.
Oh, Lordy,
and hug me,
yeah,
and I just heard this I was like, Jesus.
So I did not hug Ron Wood. We do have a picture where I very gingerly put my arm up around him, but
smoking gives you like brittle bones.
Well, those guys they've lived a few thousand lives in this on this mortal coil, so I was fine. Well, let's play some music. You'd requested some Tom Petty, and I'm going to get to that.
I'm going to get to it.
But first,
you just sit that.
I thought I'd throw something in here. Here's a rarity. This is the one and only single that got released by Mudcrutch early on. That was the Tom and Mike's first band. It wasn't quite all of the Heartbreakers in it, but it definitely sounds like what it would be.
Yeah.
And it was released on MCA. It was called Depot Street. And I thought I'd just play that, and then we can go into some more familiar
educate me, man.
Tom Petty stuff. Anyway, here we go. Sorrow. That is David Bowie. It comes from his Pinups album, a song that was first done by the McCoys on Bang Records, and we were talking about Burt Burns off the air a little while ago.
Gotta watch that documentary. Burt Burns, the Bang record story, whatever.
Yeah.
Or Bang, the Burt Burns story.
Bang, the Burt Burns story.
Yeah.
There's, this is a golden age for music documentaries right now.
Yeah.
There's so many great ones out there.
This one's great. It really moves, and you can't believe the legacy of this guy, and that it's not like a household name as much. Like it should be completely on par with Phil Spector.
No, he should. Well, he died too early. That was the problem. And because he had done so many things in a relatively short life, including introducing Van Morrison as a solo artist.
Yeah.
And
I mean, just like the fact, like writing "Peace in My Heart." Like I think people get very lost on a song like that, because they don't know who wrote that. Like, I mean, I think a good portion of people still probably think Janis Joplin wrote it.
Sure.
But it's like, and the fact that it was a hit before that, it's wild.
It is. My guest is LP today on the Vinyl Lunch. We're just having fun playing records.
Yeah.
I think we've just about finished lunch, so we'll stick on the vinyl part.
It was fantastic. You guys should try it. Come on in.
Come on down. We're at First and Broadway, 101 Broadway. In fact, go to theacmenashville.com. We have live music every night of the week, and on the weekends we kind of start about 5 o'clock and just go all day. So check it out, theacmenashville.com, for all your Acme Nashville needs. And let's see, before that we heard Thin Lizzy, Whiskey in the Jar.
Yeah, because we were talking about, I felt like I saw like this through thread from the
Mudcrutch
stuff.
Yeah.
Like that single was like, I was like, oh man, who's it remind me of?
And
Thin Lizzy.
Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy. And then we played Here Comes My Girl in the middle of that, from that amazing album, Damn the Torpedoes. Boy, there's a documentary.
Oh yeah, and that one goes on for a long time.
4 hours,
you should like. That's like a nice bottle of wine documentary, and you just watch that.
That or I've watched it a few times, and sometimes I'll watch like maybe an hour or two at a time.
Yeah.
And then you come back to it,
Yeah.
Because it's a great story. Peter Bogdanovich.
I wish there was a tiny bit more, selfish. I would like to see a tiny bit more of his personal life. They were very careful with that.
He was,
and, I don't want to intrude. But
very, very careful about that. Very,
I would, I respect that greatly, but I just was like, I just wanted to hear more of like, because I like to know where an artist is at. It doesn't have to be super detailed, but like I wanted to know like where he was at in certain places in his life.
Well, he was kind of an enigma that way.
Yeah.
At certain points. He's a Southern guy from Florida, and
this Southern from Florida thing, like I consider Florida a world of its own.
Florida is a weird world of its own.
I never consider that the South. I consider it like, an outtake of like New York that floated downstream.
Well, it's where New York goes to die, but Florida is actually kind of like Fleetwood Mac. It's several different states,
Oh, there you go.
Because you've got the Miami area and Orlando. Yeah. They're very international.
Like the Panhandle's totally different.
Panhandle's pretty redneck. Let me tell you, as a guy who, when I moved here, I was working for Gibson Guitars, and my job was to basically be the sales and marketing person for the Southeast for independent guitar stores. So I spent a lot of time driving down in the Panhandle and places, and Yeah, it's
different.
It
is part of like the.
It's
like,
Alabama on the beach, basically.
There you go. Yeah.
No insult to Alabama, but let's see. And we heard. Yeah, I think I've recapped everything. We heard Depot Street by Mudcrutch there at the top of the set. But while we were playing that, you were talking about just some of the things you have to do to protect your voice and everything on the road.
Yeah,
because you're
not be a complete alcoholic. I mean,
well, no, you're a very passionate singer. Mm-hmm. You really,
Yeah, I mean, I belt for 90 minutes basically.
Yeah, I don't ever feel like you're holding back, and
no,
it can be tough. And as we were talking, I've seen some, young artists go out there maybe on their first record, and they just every night they feel like they've got to scream and they want to party. And
well, yeah, I mean, I think you do have to leave it on the stage as much as you can.
Sure.
I noticed I get to this point where I know I can do a certain level every night, and people will be like, "Yeah, that's great," and then I notice when I go an extra, not even like when I go intentionally an extra 3%, when I'm just like an extra like, holy crap, that was like above and beyond my normal set, like as far as like how good it was. There's a different look in people's eyes when I see them after a show, and it's what you really want to see, you know what I mean? And then there's the difference of like kind of trying to bring that every night.
And we were talking about Mick Jagger, just how otherworldly it is to see this guy in his 70s just do it, and not do it for 5 minutes, like for a 2-hour show.
And his voice sounds incredible, and his moves are, if you didn't know who this person was, you would be like, I mean, I don't know you would guess he's like between like 40 and 50 or something like that, or even less, if you didn't, you saw him from far.
Yeah, depending on how far
he's
away
got a great, his face is a work of art,
Did you see the Live from Cuba
I did not.
video they did? It's wonderful.
How old is it? Is it new?
It was on HBO. I'm sure it's watchable.
It's a concert
out there.
from Cuba?
Yeah, it's concert. It's was from maybe not quite 2 years ago now, but
I'd love to
they
see
went
it.
to Havana, and it was. You can just feel it's very emotional, because that's one of the few like major first time they'd ever been there, and one of the few like big massive rock concerts they get to have there, and the Stones really showed up for it. I mean, just they talk about having that extra oomph. You could even feel it just because the crowd was.
That's the thing, man.
That wave of energy coming off the crowd just had to be incredible. So
cool.
There you go. Now you have, as we said, very passionate fans.
Yeah, I mean,
It's it's funny. Even this morning, as I put up, hey, LP will be on the Vinyl Lunch today. I noticed that there's people tweeting from France and all over the place. So it's like, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
really...
bonjour if you were listening over in that part of the world.
Bonjour.
And you were. I was eavesdropping on a conversation you were having with Joe over here. And are you maybe considering doing something television-wise?
Oh, I don't know.
Is
maybe.
that not ready for?
I would consider being. I've been asked a couple times to be a guest on. A judge on like one of those kind of shows in a couple of different countries, but I would consider that more so. I kind of dig the radio vibe. You know what I mean? I'd love to have like a little tiny piece of a radio show somewhere, in another.
Well, I love that. Well, speaking of Tom Petty, I loved his what was it called, Hidden Treasures or something that he did on Sirius, and
or like the cat from Bruce Springsteen, Little Steven.
Little Steven.
Yeah, I mean,
Underground Garage.
He actually is the narrator for the Burt Burns story.
Oh, there you go. Well, that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
it's really good. I didn't know till after. I was like, I always do that. I'm always like, oh, this voice, it's cool. I like it, And then I'm like, oh shoot, It's like, it was the first time I almost cursed at it, and I curse a lot. And I've
you
been
can
really
curse.
Good. Oh, you can?
Yeah,
shit.
We're not. Shit.
I wish I would have known that.
It's no, we're not FCC bound. But yeah, Steven is a guy who is just a huge music fan.
Yeah, like it's like there's no like he's not trying to prove something. It's like
it's like when you're talking about this record that you just found or something, and you're so excited about it,
it's
and,
beautiful,
and your voice starts getting louder and you're talking faster. That's how Steven kind of lives his life, and I just love that. And he oversees several channels there for Sirius, the Outlaw Country Channel and things. And I went to a show that he did for the Underground Garage. It was a massive festival on Roosevelt Island there in New York.
Yeah,
and it was everybody from Iggy and the Stooges to Big Star, Bo Diddley, Nancy Sinatra singing
Whoa.
These Boots
What?
with 100 go-go girls
What?
in the pleather
How long
boots.
ago was this?
This was 2003, maybe.
That is bananas.
And it is bananas, and the whole thing was filmed, and it's never come out, which is really
Whoa.
frustrating.
I need to see that.
And it was like a
sounds
famous
amazing.
director. It wasn't Bogdanovich, but it was, anyway, somebody of that level filmed the whole thing.
Wowie.
And anyway, I'm sure it's stuck in legal hell, Clarence hell at this point.
One of the go-go singers is like, nope.
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. One of the 100. But
She will not sign off. I'm sorry.
But bands like the Chocolate Watch Band and just these obscure, they're like these one-hit garage bands.
Amazing.
Steven got them all there, and the wildest thing was they had a carousel stage. Like they'd be setting up one in the front, and then in the back you'd be doing the other. Yeah. And it broke on about the third band, so suddenly they had to.
Those are weird. I've done that a couple of times. Like, wow.
And here they are.
Yeah.
I always feel like I'd be a spokesmodel. And here's the new car.
Right? They're like, do not step over that line.
Exactly.
You don't want to see what happens.
It messes me up. Like there's, I've been in some revolving bars like that, where it's you go to the bathroom and come back. It's like, where
that is
where
not
was
a
I
safe
sitting?
thing. As a child was, unfortunately killed. And,
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like a really bad. I think it was.
Oh no, I
in
didn't know
Texas
that.
somewhere. Like they had.
Oh, that's
recently.
horrible.
Yeah, that's not a good idea for a restaurant.
No, it's not. Especially if alcohol is involved, because you're spending enough anyway. This is the Vinyl Lunch. I am Tim Hibbs. Let's play another of your songs.
If you want, sure, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'd love to. I want to play your version of Halo. If you don't mind.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah, it's fine. It goes on a little too long because I missed the turn. Speaking of turnarounds, I missed the turnaround in that version, and it just went on forever. So
well, we've got faders. We may edit, but I want to play a little bit.
You can fade that shit out if you want to after the 4-minute mark. Okay.
I want to just play a bit of it because I really
cool.
like it. All right, here is LP with Halo live on the Vinyl Lunch.
Sitting in a park in Paris, France.
All right. As usual on the Vinyl Lunch, whenever I do something digital, karma smacks me in the ass. I was trying to program some things and like do up next, and it just was jumping straight from Alanis to Green Day, and then poor Joni got caught in the mix.
Man. You had a little medley.
A little medley, yeah, a little remix going on.
A med down instead of a meltdown.
Meltdown, yes. We'll do the Meltdown Festival right after Shirchella.
There you has it.
We're just having fun playing music with LP today, and our time is just about up. But man, thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you.
Talking music, it's always fun.
Am I going to see you tonight? You coming through?
Well, it's a sold out show,
Well, I could get you tickets, man. I know somebody.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah. All right.
If you want.
Man, it's well, thank you for that, and just man, keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you so much.
You're heading, to the Russian Federation, to Turkey.
Yeah.
It's music is our greatest export, and now more than ever, we need to show them that all Americans are not bananas.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. All Russians are certainly not bananas.
No, absolutely not.
It's like I was very struck when I went there. Of the common ground that we share. And that people just kind of. The fact that we both have to believe or get ideas about each other through the political side of things. It's like there's I think we think that people walk around Russia all politically charged, and I'm sure
there's some of those people, but
of course, just like they are here, and we are we're much more like than we think, and I think that that's part of what we have to understand and believe in, that we're just people.
Absolutely. Well, my son in his senior year, his advanced placement class took a trip to Russia, and the idea was go there and just meet with other Russian kids their age.
Yeah.
Well, they're not Russian, but meet with Russian kids their age, I should say. And that's what they did. And he had a blast and brought me back a Russian bootleg version of Hard Day's Night. And,
There you go. And they're very, passionate about music, just like us. Like that's
God,
like obviously a big thing, and I just like I really have enjoyed every time I've gone there, and I'm looking forward to this tour, and it'll be my first time in Turkey. Actually, I've never been there.
Man, I've never been to Turkey, and I wish I have gone because I had a friend go, and she was working for a record label, and somebody says, "Oh, I've got a guy that's going to call you with some like tips on where to go in Turkey." She says, "Okay." Ahmet Erdogan called her up, and it's like, oh, okay,
a guy again, and we're back full circle to Bang, the Burt Burns story.
There we go. Yeah, I got a guy. He was the A in Bang.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like Burt, Ahmet, Nisui. Who was the G?
That guy. No, it was the guy. Who's the guy with the?
The guy with
he's
the
like
thing?
kind of like the mean guy. He's got like not the mean guy, but he's like the kind of the tyrant of that whole era, like where he just like he decided what was good. He was like he had a hand in every pot, like the production pot and a little bit of writing.
We'll solve that mystery here in a little while. It's funny though. We were talking as we were talking about Green Day. We were talking about kind of performers with attitude and how things get so PC sometimes that all the edges get
me
sanded
and Joey,
away.
And we were just talking about how poor Billy Joel got such a bad rap from that breakdown he had. But like, man, if Joe Strummer had a meltdown, like 20 years earlier, like people would be like, that's Joe Strummer, man. Well, he's a punk rocker.
You look at Iggy Pop at that the aforementioned.
Jerry Wexler.
Yeah.
Jerry.
God, yeah, Jerry Wexler.
But anyway, like I think that the whole the message is like hey, don't do drugs, don't drink, but like this whole business started from all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And like that people want to whitewash everything. That kind of pisses me off. It's
it was the verboten side of the world. I mean, they called them race records. You weren't supposed to listen to them, which made them so appealing. It's like when they started putting the parental sticker on the rap albums. Those are the ones that was like the seal of approval. Right. The kids wouldn't buy it unless it had the parental advisory sticker on it.
I don't want to err on the side of being like no caution with like the drugs and alcohol thing, but like they're responsible for a lot of things, and the allure of the business in a way, and and the caveat is like, hey, don't die, but
no, it is but rock and roll is supposed to be at least a little bit dangerous.
It's got to be a little bit dangerous, like and you walk the line, like someone very very cool once said.
Oh man,
I mean,
he sure did, and he's a guy that like stood up and stood his ground and pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, and then he also sat down and ate an entire cake. Like in a bush, like
sometimes you do.
I've been talking about that a lot lately. Last week I felt like I definitely had a Johnny Cake eating cake in a bush week, but and sometimes that's got to happen. It reminds you of the fragility of, that's another thing that I think as much as rock and roll is about power and music is about power, it's like it's also riding the line of fragility as well, and. You don't know until you linger on the wild side for a second.
Yeah, well, it's basically it's humanity, and humanity comes in a lot of forms and a lot of phases, and sometimes you're strong, and sometimes you feel like you're weak as a kitten.
There you go. And sometimes you feel like you're you can't mix digitally.
Dude.
Just kidding,
Show's
Tim.
over.
You're killing it. Okay, everybody, bye-bye. I'll never be on this radio station again, so I'd like to say bye right now. I love you guys. I love you. I'll come back for you.
It is, I try to own up and own all of my failures on the air.
Dude, I've never DJ'd in my life.
Somebody's going to tweet in and tell me anyway, so I might as well.
Come to my show tonight. I'm sure I'll screw up. I'll screw up just for you, man. I'll like mess up the words. Whatever.
Well, again,
anything you want.
I love it when somebody's real, if I'm talking to you, I don't care what you do. Maybe you're like a mechanic, but if you can make me, or a hardware store owner, if you can make me care about that hardware store and just tell me what moves you about it,
passion moves the needle, nothing else.
Absolutely. All right. Well, speaking of moving the needle, let's
play another one off the iPad, shall we?
We shall. I want to play you some Mr. Cash, and you picked Folsom Prison, that album, that legendary album. What cut would you like to hear from
that one?
Folsom Prison Blues. All right.
Let's do it, man. Let's just talk about what happens when you mess up.
You do. Well, you start over. Well,
you do the time and then you start over.
Well, and I've already done the crime, so
this message is for all the children out there. You know, when you get in trouble, just do your time and then come on back.
There you go. LP is doing public service announcements for us. What I loved were those James Brown.
Let's talk about the music. He'd do the anti-drug PSAs. Oh, jeez. Wow, that is amazing. Yeah.
All right, enough of that.
Sam Paulo.
Here we go. Johnny Cash live in front of a bunch of inmates at Folsom Prison, doing Folsom Prison Blues.
Thanks, Tim. You're the best.
Oh, thank you. Come on, Johnny. See, now I feel like I've insulted Johnny. There we go.
Woo!
I hear the train a-coming. It's rolling.